This is the Ukrainian parliament. Here is how it looks from the inside. Lawmakers are holding up the flags of allied
Germany
nations
won't
that
help
have
Ukraine?
stepped up arms supplies to Ukraine. One
Because
flag is notably
Russia
missing, the tricolors of Germany.
gives them
Whenever the
energy.
European Union has had to make decisions on policy making, Germany has always taken the lead. Now, however, Europe's biggest and wealthiest state is watching the Ukrainian crisis from the sidelines. German lawmakers refuse to supply Ukraine with weapons while taking a soft attitude with Russia. Still more, the German Foreign Ministry refuses to say whether Germany would abandon the Nord Stream 2 pipeline in case of a Russian attack on Ukraine. The ordeal has raised eyebrows among NATO member states, so much so that in Eastern Europe, Germany is increasingly viewed more as an ally of Russia. So, why is Germany out of step with its NATO allies? Why is it throwing Ukraine under the bus?
Looks like Westworld intro.
Today's video is sponsored by NordPass, are bulking up military commitments in Eastern Europe. President Biden has put thousands of American troops on high alert. Denmark is sending F-16 fighter jets to Lithuania, Spain is sending a warship to the Black Sea, and the Netherlands is sending F-35 fighter aircraft to Bulgaria. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom is airlifting Javelin anti-armor missiles, Turkey is transferring Bayraktar TB2 drones, Poland is sending Pirunia shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles, while Canada is deploying a security task force on Ukrainian soil. Even the smaller nations are stepping up. Latvia and Lithuania are shipping Stinger anti-aircraft missiles to Kiev. However, while some NATO allies transfer weapons to Ukraine, others are not. Germany is not sending arms, but it has delivered a field hospital and 5,000 helmets, a deed that has been ridiculed across Eastern Europe. Kiev's mayor, for instance, responded by saying that Germany might send pillows next.
Are you getting enough help from the Germans?
It's joke. By the way, I want to say thank you, but it's not enough. It's not really help.
But anecdotes aside, German officials insist that a Russian violation of Ukraine's territorial integrity would have grave consequences. But action talks louder than words. Berlin has not only ruled out weapon exports to Ukraine, but it has also held back the shipment of German-based military hardware from Estonia to Ukraine. What's more, German lawmakers have been ambiguous about the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline running from Russia to Germany and whether or not the controversial pipeline would be part of sanctions against Russia. Olaf Scholz, the head of the German government, has consistently declared that Nord Stream 2 is a private sector venture entirely separate from the Ukrainian crisis. Meanwhile, Friedrich Merz, leader of the political opposition and successor to Angela Merkel, is against excluding Russian banks from the SWIFT payment network, which handles global financial transfers. The reason? It would harm German economic interests. Yet perhaps the most controversial statement came from Kai-Achim Schönbach, the chief of the German Navy, who was caught on tape saying Ukraine would never be able to regain Crimea and that Putin wants and deserves respect.
But what he really wants is respect. He wants, on eye level, he wants respect. And my God, giving someone respect is low cost, even no cost. So if I was asked, I'm boss, and I was asked, it is easy to even give him the respect he really demands and probably also deserves.
The vice admiral later resigned from office, but his attitude prevails in the German political spectrum. These developments and more have frustrated the efforts of NATO, which seeks to secure unity and unanimity to deal with Russia. No country matters more to European unity than Germany. Yet, Berlin's reluctance to confront Moscow is wavering a unified European front. Germany's official reasoning for its posture, or lack thereof, is historical responsibility. Sensitivities between Moscow and Berlin are shaped by centuries of cultural exchange, trade and conflict. Germany attacked Russia twice in the 20th century, the second attempt which resulted in a genocidal war. An estimated 27 million Soviet citizens died. So German lawmakers see Russia differently from their NATO counterparts, not least the ruling German government. The stance of the post-Merkel coalition government in Berlin, which is led by the Social Democrats, the Greens and the Free Democrats, is rooted in history. The Social Democrats, who hold the Chancellor's office, have a history of reapproachment with Russia. They were on friendly terms with the Soviet Union and continue to be on good terms with Russia. Now, the Social Democrats are making political decisions based on experiences from decades ago. At the same time, the Greens have their roots in the peace movements and thus object to any arms deliveries. The toughest of the bunch in the coalition are the Free Democrats, but they don't want to shake up the government. Yet, regardless of the domestic politics, Germany's soft tone with Russia does not sit well with Ukraine. Officials in Kiev say the historical responsibility contention is groundless because they suffered as much as Russia during World War II. However, beyond the official story, there are objective, quantifiable interests at play. The crisis in Ukraine comes at a time when Europe is dealing with soaring energy prices and internal disagreements over how to switch to renewable sources of energy. The Russian leadership knows this and is making the most of it. In the past, the Europeans responded to Russian encroachment with economic sanctions. However, sanctions have already been in place for years following Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. To apply additional sanctions would mean halting Russian energy supplies to Europe. But it's nearly impossible to sanction a country that holds a near monopoly on the supply of certain goods. The most prized possession in Russia's energy policy towards Europe is Nord Stream 2. Running for 1,200 kilometers under the Baltic Sea, Nord Stream 2 is a pipeline that means to bring natural gas from Russia to Germany, a pipeline held by Russian state-owned energy company Gazprom. Nord Stream 2 is yet to be commissioned, but once operational, Russia would be able to sell additional natural gas to European customers without paying transit fees to Ukraine. What makes Nord Stream 2 a game-changing instrument is Germany's climate change pledge to go carbon neutral by 2045. As part of its plan, Germany decommissioned half of its nuclear plants and intends to close down the remaining nuclear plants within a year. By doing so, by taking these premature steps, Berlin has shot itself in the foot. Now, Berlin is more dependent on natural gas than before, and it's unlikely to shake off its addiction for 3 reasons. Firstly, even though Germany has invested fiercely in renewable innovations, wind and solar cannot yet replace natural gas, of which about 1/3 is imported from Russia. Secondly, roughly half the natural gas Germany consumes comes from its manufacturing sector. To cut natural gas consumption, German manufacturers would need to either scale back production or redesign their production processes, which would be costly and time-consuming. And thirdly,
Alright. Well, we'll see what happens. I feel like Putin is like, YOLO, whatever. I feel like he's just like, he wants his name somewhere in some history book, right? He wants more impact. Should just do something drastical.
Style hoodie.